What's up, everyone? So today I'm going to be talking about error handling in Express.js. First of all, you will see some basics of error handling in Express.js. Then I'm going to be showing you my opinionated approach for error handling in Express.js, and I think I would do a separate video on how to do stuff like request, payload validation, and stuff like that using this same opinionated approach. All right. First of all, we have a basic web server. It's a post request, a post method. User is the endpoint. All I'm going to do is send back okay. When I run, you can see I'm getting 200 and okay back. However, when I throw an error, something went wrong. Here you can see the default error handler of Express.js kicks in and it's sending me back a 500, which is a good default. And um, in the HTML, I'm getting stack trace and everything. I think this is the default for uh, in the development mode. All right, so this is a good default. However, we can kind of customize this. All you have to do is to add a error handler using this kind of callback, and it should have 4 parameters, error, request, response, and next functions. Error is the object that was thrown from a router, and error usually contains a message. So I'm just basically printing this to the console just for the developer, and for the client I'm going to send him back a 500, and I'm going to send a message saying something broke. Okay, now when I rerun, you can see I'm getting 500 back and something broke in the payload of the response. All right, that's pretty good. This is working. However, one important thing here is the fact that you need to have 4 parameters. Otherwise, this will not be considered uh, as an error handler. So if I run this again, you can see the default error handler kicks in. However, when I have 4 parameters, we are getting so it's calling the custom error handler to handle the error. All right, now here one important thing is the fact that we have a developer friendly error message logged into the console, as you can see right here. At the same time, I have a separate message for the client. We are not revealing too much right here, and that's what we should do. It should be something useful. At the same time, we should not reveal too much. All right, that's one important thing. Actually, I forgot to mention that error handler you should register at the end of the file, or rather at the end of how do I say that? This should be the last thing that you are registering, pretty much, because everything on top of the file will be handled by this array. But if you have some other router defined down below after the this middleware, then error thrown from here will not be covered. So that's why it should be the last thing you would do. All right. Now, one more important thing. It's most likely that you would have a asynchronous callback function, because usually we do async stuff within the function, something like await func call, right? It's pretty common. However, when you do that, this is going to return a promise, and when we run the thing, it shows a connection error. Well, what's going on? By default, Express.js will not handle asynchronous errors. For that, you probably should use the Express async errors library, and all you have to do is add the dependency and import it. That's all you have to do. And when we run this again, you can see the custom error handler will handle the error, even though this is a promise. All right, now um, let's try to do this better. Let's call a service within the controller. So I'll create a service. Let's create a services directory, and let's have a user controller. Oh, sorry, user service. Class user service. Here I'm going to have one function, create user. I'm going to take in a user. It's going to have name property. That's going to be a string, and email property. Once again, it's string. Here within the implementation, we could do database insert. However, for the tutorial, I'm not going to do that. Just to simulate, I'll return an object, and we are going to have all the properties that we have within the user. Additionally, I would have ID hard coded as one. Now I'm going to do this if condition to randomly fail this service. So I'll do math dot random. Let's have 50% chance of this is failing, so 0.5 is going to give us that. And throw new error, something went wrong, right? Okay, looks good. Now let's go back to the router or the controller. Here first I have to create the instance of user service, new user service. I think I forgot to export. Yep. Now we should be able to import, and here within the controller I can do user service, create user, and pass in the request.body, the payload, and it's going to give me back the created user. So const user, and I can do response JSON and send the user back. All right, cool. Now let's try. Actually, I'm not sending any payload, but if I add that like so, it's going to be content type is going to be application JSON, and these are the two properties I'm going to add to the JSON. Yeah, we are getting back email name as well as ID. But sometimes it should fail. Yeah, something broke. Now we are getting 500 back, and something broke as the message. However, we have to be specific most of the time. We have to be specific about the error. So let's say we have a conflict error because user is already existing in the database. Let's try to simulate that. So in here, instead of passing an error, let's have a specific error, right? For that, I'll create another package called errors and have conflict error type, and let's create class conflict error that's going to extend error. This is how you would create custom errors basically. And here constructor is going to take a message. It's going to be a string, and I have to call super to instantiate the error instance. Super message. At the same time, I'll create a variable to store the message in the current error conflict error instance. So message, and this dot message is going to be message. All right, cool. I think this is good enough. And let's go back to the service, and here I'm going to throw a new conflict error instead. And here the message user is already existing, right? And in the controller, however, if I try this out, You can see we are getting 500 back, like it did before. To handle this particular error, I'm going to add a try catch and catch block is going to get an error if error is an instance of conflict error. That what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a response with status code 409, and JSON is going to be, let's have a standard structure for the error. I would like to have an object as the root payload, and to have errors array, array of errors, because sometimes we want to send more than one error. So just for the sake of consistency, I'd like to have errors property, and that's going to be an array. Within there, I can define the first error. In this case, we only have one error. And I can have message property, and I can have conflict as the message. And at the same time, since we know this is an instance of conflict, I can do console log there is an existing resource. So this is the developer message. As I said, it's important. And here, this is the client message, and I have to move this to the try block. Yeah, this looks good. So let's try. That worked. That failed, and we are getting 409 conflict, and we get the standard structure that we have defined, and we got the message. All right, this is fine. However, this is too verbose for me, and let's say we have another error type. I don't know. It could be anything, 404 something, in terms of getting some user resource. Then I would have to add another if condition. I should return here just to break the request, and I have to do another if condition for another error type. This is annoying. So let's try my opinionated approach. Hard to say that. I'm gonna get rid of all this, and I'm gonna get rid of the error as well. And here I'm going to remove conflict error. Instead, I'm going to have HTTP error TS. Here, let's define a class. To be specific, it's going to be an abstract class, because we want to whoever the implementing this HTTP error to add some stuff. We want to force them to add some stuff. HTTP error, that's going to extend error as usual, is going to be an abstract class. At the same time, I'll export. All right, now if I open up the, I don't know, maybe, yeah, here we have the status of the error that we're going to send back to the client, and the message. This could be JSON as we did before. So we need two things: status code and the response body. First of all, I'll define abstract status. It's going to be number, and abstract function to get the JSON to JSON, and that's going to return, well, standard type that we have not defined. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll create another package for models. Here we should have error model, and let's do sorry, it's going to be an interface. So let's call it HTTP error model, and we should have, like we had before. Okay, I cleared it out, but like we had before, it's going to be an object, and it should have errors property. errors. That's going to be an array of something. But at least it should have message property, because that's a basic requirement. But additionally, we should be possible to have something like type or field or whatever, some additional information in the same thing. So let's have that possibility. So I'll make this a generic type T, and it's going to be a type T array. However, we are not forcing this particular type to have message. To do that, I'll do another interface, and I'm going to call it HTTP error record, maybe model, and this is going to have a message property, and we can extend the generic with HTTP error record model, and I can have it as the default as well. So yeah, so errors should at least contain message property within an error. That's a basic requirement we have. Right, now we have HTTP error model that we should return from to JSON. However, the type should be flexible as usual. So I'll make this a generic as well, and at least it should satisfy error record model. Basically it should at least have the message property. So this could be T. So this is the basic requirement. Now let's do an implementation. As like we did earlier, I'm going to have an error for conflict. Let's do export class conflict error. That's going to extend HTTP error. I don't have to add the generic because I have set. Okay, actually I don't have, so I have to be specific. So yeah, right now it's an error because I have not passed the type. However, I could make this default like I have done earlier. So even if I don't have it, it'll consider HTTP error record model as the default. Right, let's do missing implementation. We have to implement status. That's going to be 409, right? Then here we have to return the correct object. It's going to be an object. If I do control space, you can see it does the auto completion as well with the correct types, and we should have a message property here called conflict. All right, this is pretty good. However, I want the possibility to customize this message right here. So I'll have a constructor and get a message. However, this is going to be the message for the developer, and I'll have another parameter called display message. That's going to be a string, and I'll call super because HTTP error is going to extend error, and I have to instantiate that here with the message. And to store these two message and display values, I'll create two variables, message. Similarly, I'll create display message, right? And here I'm going to assign them. Message is going to be message. Similarly, I'll do display message. Wait, what was that? Okay, there we go. Now I can do this dot display message right here. At the same time, I would like to have a default value saying conflict. If I'm not passing anything, then by default the message is going to be conflict. All right, pretty good. Now let's head back to the service, right? Yeah, here I'm gonna remove this import right here and re-import the HTTP error type conflict error. All right, now we have developer message set to user is already existing, and the display message is going to be the default value. That's going to be conflict. All right, looks good. Let's head back to the router, and here I'm going to have a handler for HTTP errors, all the HTTP errors, because everything we need to send a response, that's included in the error message. So just checking HTTP error is enough. So if error is an instance of HTTP error, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a response. Status is going to be error.status, and JSON is going to be error dot to JSON, whatever the return value of to JSON. And I want to return to stop the execution of the message, sorry, of the function. And yeah, I think this is good enough. We are displaying the message of the or developer message of the error as well. Yeah, I think this looks good. Let's try it. Okay, I screwed up something. What went wrong? HTTP error. Looks like we have an error. Do we? Let me go to the model. No errors here as well. Wait, what went wrong? Strange. Okay. Cannot find HTTP error model. Oh, I'm not exporting. What about now? Nope. This is in HTTP error. HTTP error. I'm not importing probably. Yep. Let me import these and these. Yep, cool. Now, yeah, we are getting back the response. Now we have a conflict error, and we have the expected structure of the error as well. And within the console, we should have the developer message user already existing. But let's say I want to, customize this a little bit. Let's say you want to send, you cannot use an, or maybe you have an account already. Yeah, this is going to be the client message. Let's try again. Yep, we have the message. All right, so this is my way of handling errors in Express.js, and if you find this useful, go ahead and use that. In a new video, I'll do something useful like data validation, and let's see how we can add more details into the error message. Probably we will have more than one error returned back to the user in the response body. Yeah, we would have awesome things like that in the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.